Mighty God, hallowed be the name. Faithful God, you are worthy to receive all the praise. For you alone, you're the air that I breathe, the song that I sing. You're the lover of my soul. With you, there is no impossibility. With you, I can move the mountain. Whatever you say will surely come to pass. At the mention of your name, every knee must bow. Oh, unchangeable.
Let us look at the life of Saul. Saul that was turned to Paul. Let us read Acts 9. Acts 9, and I'll read from verse 1. Acts 9. Then Saul, still breathing threats and murder against the disciples of the Lord, went to the high priest and asked letters from him to the synagogues of Damascus, so that if he found any who were of the way, whether men or women, he might bring them bound to Jerusalem. As he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly a light shone around him from heaven. Then he fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And he said, Who are you, Lord? Then the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. It is hard for you to kick against the goats. It is hard for you to kick against the goats. It is hard. So he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what would you want me to do? Lord, what would you want me to do? Lord, what would you want me to do? Then the Lord said to him, Arise and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do. What has happened here? We all know the story of Saul, who later became Paul. He hated the people of God. He was a murderer. The Bible said in this very account of Acts 9 that he had obtained letter to kill more. On his way, Jesus stopped him. Look at the statement Paul made here. When Jesus said to him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? In 9:4. Verse 5, he said, Who are you? Then the Lord said, I am Jesus, who you are persecuting. It is hard for you to kick against the big. What did he say? He said, trembling in verses, he said, What would you want me to do? What would you want me to do? Paul had somebody tell him his life. Paul had somebody tell him, look, Paul, you may be the best murderer. You may be the best assassinator. They can give you a picture to go and murder somebody because of 10,000 naira. They say, see that man. I think he wants to contest 2019. Take 50,000 naira. Just waste his life. Babake. That is simple now. Babake. That man, he won't contest against you. Baba. The man who they fear. Now one thing, Baba, no worry. Now one poor, and I go just give up. You collect 50,000. You collect photograph. You go to waste somebody's life. This is your turning point. Jesus said to Saul, you are wasting your time. You cannot kick against the brick. You will pay for these actions. But look at the turning point. He said, Lord, what would you have me do? What would you have me do? Just like the Samaritan woman. The Samaritan woman said to Jesus, Who are you? Who are you? And the moment Jesus told her, I am the living water. If you drink of me, you will never be thirsty again. Out of you will come out the fountain, the newness of life. She said, I surrender. Not just that she surrendered, she ran into town and became an immediate conscripted evangelist. Because the Bible says she ran to the men and said, come and see him. Come and see him who told me all things. That is the Christ. Same way, look at Saul. Jesus told him, you see, you can't continue, you can't kick against the brick. No matter how powerful a man is, can you go around any of the Abuja rocks and remove your shoe and you just take your leg, boom, boom, boom? You will finish the toes, you will finish the feet, you will finish that foot. That was what Jesus was telling Saul, who later became Paul. You will finish yourself. And I'm telling you the same thing today. If you refuse to come to the turning point, you will finish yourself. By the time you're in your 60s and your 70s, you'll find out that everything you have labored for will amount to nothing because of the circumstances of life that will surround you at that time. Saul came to his turning point and he became Paul that we read about today because he was humble enough to realize that Jesus could never be far from the truth of what he told him. The truth of the fact that he's kicking against the brick. He realized that truly that is the truth. And he said, Lord, what will you have me do? How are you kicking against the brick? Are you saying, what is she saying? Are you kicking against the brick? By that, you're sitting, you're watching, you're listening. You're even preparing how to do the next evil. You're kicking against the brick. There's a payback time. If a murderer could say, Lord, what would you have me do? If a free woman, Jesus said to her, you are married 5, even the one you are sleeping with today is not even your husband. Then you have no reason not to say, Lord, what will you have me do? Except you want to continue enjoying that evil. But the bad thing about evil is that the pay is greater than the investment. What you invest into evil, the payback, it comes in 100-folds. You get the reward more than you ever invested. Wonderful viewers, I'm giving us these different examples because you know I didn't write the Bible. You also know that the word of God is true because God himself told us that everything, everything, including me and you, will pass away, but that his word will remain forever. Let us look at 2 Samuel. Let us read verse 1 to 5. It says, it happened in the spring of the year, at the time when kings go out to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, and they destroyed the people of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David remained at Jerusalem. Then it happened one evening that David rose from his bed and walked on the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful to behold. So David sent and inquired about the woman. And someone said, is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Then David sent messengers and took her. And she came to him, and he lay with her, for she was cleansed from her impurity, and she returned to her house. And the woman conceived. So she sent and told David, and said, I am with child. Then David sent to Joab, saying, send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. What has happened here? What has happened here still happens every day. There are men whose only duty is to sleep with people's wives. In fact, they shamelessly tell you that the best people to sleep with is people's wives. So all these small girls, their problems are too much. It's better when you sleep with a man's wife, even if you get belly, your husband go think say I ain't give her now. The best people is people's wife, and they hide it because they don't want their husbands to know. They cannot come out and show that you're sleeping with them. So your wife cannot find out too. All these small girls, before they will go and forget and be sending you nonsense tests. Darling, sweetheart, your wife will not find out. What an abomination. What an abomination. You can undress somebody's wife. You can see the nakedness of somebody's wife. You think the Lord will not allow them to see the nakedness of your own wife? You think Satan will not enter your wife too, to begin to practice what you do? Whatsoever a man sows, of a certainty he sure will reap. Are you sure too that your wife will not be condescend so low to be sleeping with your workers? Look for one handsome boy that is your PA and also be using him to take care of herself. How do you feel when you can carry somebody's wife, sleep with her? She dresses up, she goes home. She goes and she makes meal for her husband. She retires to bed with her husband, the one that has paid bride price, even calling him honey, sweetie, this, that. David, the Bible said at the time when kings go to war, that was when David tied a wrapper and was going top on the top roof and found somebody's wife. Why? Because people were there fighting the battle for him. God has blessed you so much. You can afford to just press your phone and millions are entering into your account. So it is the best time for you to fly first class into one country, fly first class or business class for somebody's wife to meet you in another country. And you go ahead. After misbehaving, she's pregnant, it no matter now. You do your husband's house now. Tell your husband, son, I don't get another picking. The turning point. A turning point. Look at what David did. That was exactly what David did. He didn't stop there. Now, David's own, because the man was not around, the man was a staff of David. The man was fighting battle. The man was part of the keepers of Israel at that time, fighting to hold the integrity of Israel, their territory. David said, okay, send for the man, because he needed to cover his shame. He needed now for the man to come home, sleep with the wife, so that it will appear that, oh, the one he came and slept with the wife, that's how the pregnancy came. Can you deceive God? And of course, David sent, and Uriah came. Uriah refused to go and sleep. He says, I cannot go to sleep with my wife when Israel is fighting a battle. David did everything to make him go home. He refused to go. And what was it eventually that happened? Our return.
It's real.
Only you are able.
unto me according to your word, according to your promises. I can stand secure. Carve upon my heart the truth that sets me free. According to your word, O Lord, be it unto me.
Keep a date with King Jesus and I Ministries, third Saturday every month. Team, I will carry my Isaac at King Jesus and I Chapel, number 7, Salgadifo Street, opposite Deputy Governor's Office off DBS Road, Asaba, Delta State. Time 7 a.m. Come and encounter the God of Sarah. And Sarah said, God has made me laugh, and all who hear will laugh with me. Genesis chapter 21 verse 6. Don't miss it. Come and be blessed. Jesus is Lord.
Welcome back, wonderful viewers. In case you're just tuning in, this is the concluding part of Turning Point. Yes, we're talking about David, how David took Uriah's wife, slept with her, and now she's pregnant. And David wanted to make it look like it was Uriah, sent for Uriah to come. Uriah came, refused to go home to sleep with the wife. And eventually, let us look at 2 Samuel 11 verse 14. It says, in the morning it happened that David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. And he wrote in the letter saying, set Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle and retreat from him, that he may be struck down and die. So it was while Joab besieged the city that he assigned Uriah to a place where he knew they were valiant men. Then the men of the city came out and fought with Joab, and some of the people of the servants of David fell, and Uriah the Hittite died also. What happened here? The wickedness of the wicked. Because when you are into abomination, you will need one abomination to cover the other abomination. David had taken somebody's wife because he was a wealthy man. He didn't bother about whether the person was Mrs. or missing. Bring her. He slept with her. Some men are still doing it today. The woman that is your staff comes to you. Oh, I can't pay my children's school fees. My husband has not been paid. You take a second look at her. Ah, man, this woman fine. Though. Why this kind of fine woman go marry a poor man now? He said, okay, come back. I'll see you. Come back at 6. I'm very busy. The woman returns at 6. You tell your staff to go home. Because of her desperation, she submits. You sleep with her. You violate her. You're happy. The money God has blessed you with, because the Bible said he's the one that giveth us power to make wealth. Whether you got it after you did 7 rituals, he's the one that allowed you. Because if he says you are going to die today, you will die. But he has not allowed you to die because he's still giving you the opportunity to repent of your evil. So that money that he allowed you life to make, you have used it for more abomination. And at the end of the day, look at, in order for David to cover his shame, look at that wickedness. The same Uriah, he wrote a letter to the army commander, gave it to Uriah to carry by his hand. What was the letter talking about? Army commander, this sergeant Uriah, put him for a place where the battle strong were made a killer. That was the letter. Uriah unconsciously, unknowingly carried his own death warrant. Look at verse chapter 12. Chapter 12, 2 Samuel 12 from 1. Then the Lord sent Nathan to David, and he came to him and said to him, there were 2 men in one city, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceedingly many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing, except one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and nourished. And he grew together with him and with his children. He ate of his own food and drank from his own cup, and lay in his bosom, and he was like a daughter to him. And a traveler came to the rich man, who refused to take from his own flock and from his own head to prepare one for the wayfaring man who had come to him. But he took the poor man's lamb and prepared it for the man who had come to him. So David's anger was greatly aroused against the man, and he said to Nathan, as the Lord lives, this man who has done this shall surely die, and he shall restore fourfold for the lamb, which he did this thing, and because he had no pity. Then Nathan said to David, you are the man. You are the man. When we do evil, most times Satan beclouds us. We do not see the gravity of the evil we do. Look at David. When Nathan came and told him, because God had blessed David so much. And he said there was a poor man. The only thing he had, the rich man that had many, came to take. And he said that is wickedness. That rich man must die. The turning point. Thank God for David. David wept. David cried. He said, God, I never knew I have gone this wicked. And that led to Psalm 51 that we read today. David used the song of that Psalm 51, the prayer of that Psalm 51, to ask God for forgiveness. That was his turning point. David realized the gravity of the wickedness that he carried out. And God was so angry that that child that came from that pregnancy, God made sure that that child died. The turning point. Where are you still saying that it doesn't matter? You can continue in your evil. You can do whatever you like. No, you cannot. You're not at liberty to. There is a payback time. There is a day that is waiting for that payment. All I've come to tell you this day is like this man of God that I mentioned to you about, like Saul, like David I just read to you. What I've come to let you know is that no matter where you are presently, no matter what you are doing, look at David. Not only did he commit an abomination, commit adultery, he committed murder. All put in one. But he was still able to break down, to say, Lord, I never knew I have gone this wicked. Please forgive me. That was his turning point. The Lord said, yes, I will forgive you. But the child, that first child will die. And the child actually, like the Lord said, died. And David came back to himself. The turning point. Harden not your heart. The turning point is the point that will make a difference in your life. If you harden your heart, you will have yourself to blame. Haven't listened to me today. As you're hearing me today, this is the time for you to turn. This is the time for you to say, no, enough of this evil. I cannot do this evil any longer. Moses had sympathy for the children of God. Remember that Moses, when the book of Exodus, when he saw the Egyptian and his person, the Israelite fighting, what did Moses do? He joined to kill the Egyptian because he thought he was doing what was right. He was trying to liberate his people from the wickedness of the Egyptians. But that was against God. And when it was found that he ran, when the time for him came, there was a turning point. Because when God eventually, when it was time for him to work for God, because some of us work for ourselves, some of us call ourselves, some God will call us. Initially, he called himself unto God's service. And he committed murder. He had to shed blood. There are people today who say they are men and women of God who called themselves. And they are shedding blood. They are doing all kinds of evil in the ministry because they called themselves. When you are called of God, God who calls you will make provision for you. Moses first called himself. And he ran into trouble. Because by strength shall no man prevail. He tried to prevail by his strength. He tried to fight for God. And he went into bloodshed. He went into murder. When he found out that his sins had been revealed, he ran away. But when God called him, he confronted greater challenge. But him who called him was his backbone to face that challenge. Eventually, when God called him, God was able to back him up. And he said, what do you want me to do? I don't know how to talk. How do you want me to go and meet Pharaoh? God said, don't worry. It is your turning point. You will go back to that same place where you had tried to fight by your strength, where you had tried to do things by your own way, and you had to shed blood. You had to shed innocent blood. You will go back to that land. This time, I have called you. The first one you called yourself. Now that I've called you, I'm going with you. And when the Lord went with him, of course, that was the turning point. He was no longer the Moses that he was as at the time he killed a man and buried him in the sand. This is a new Moses that had met with the Lord. In turning point, what is it as we conclude? In turning point, you must be dropping off something. You cannot have a turning point when you remain the way you are. You cannot turn without dropping something. What do I mean? You know, as Moses was approaching the burning bush. First and foremost, the Lord used the burning bush to draw his attention. As Moses was approaching the burning bush, the Lord said to him, remove your shoes. For you to turn from what it has been, there must be a discarding of something. There must be something that you're dropping. The Lord said to Moses, remove your shoes, for where you are standing is a holy ground. You must be dropping something for you to properly turn to God. Take your time, read through Exodus. Read through the book of Exodus, read the Exodus 2, down to the encounter. The Lord said to him, remove your shoe. Where you are standing is a holy ground. Where you are standing is a holy ground. Same way, the Bible said Joshua, the high priest, when he appeared before the Lord, he had a filthy garment, and the Lord said, remove your filthy garment. As you come to the point of the turning point, what is it that you are going to drop? What is the shoe that you need to remove as you step into your holy ground? What is the filthy garment that you need to remove? Is it the filthy garment of waywardness, adultery, stealing, greed, backbitings, wickedness in high places? What is the shoe you have to remove before you can step on the holy ground? What is the filthy garment you have to remove before you can appear before the Lord? The choice is yours. I have come this day to let you know that if you decide to take your turning point, you will fulfill your destiny. You will fulfill your days. No matter how bad it's been, no matter the stage of life you decide to turn, you will have benefits as your prize at the end of it. And I would not want to say if you don't want to turn, because haven't listened to me. I know the God of heaven and earth will trouble your heart to look at that filthy garment like Joshua that you need to remove. To look at the shoes that you need to remove like Moses for you to be able to step on your holy ground. As you do that, the God of heaven and earth will meet you at the point of your need. God bless you. I remain Right Honorable Evangelist Mrs. Onyemechi Mrapo, the turning point.
Unchangeable, reliable.